Most people don't realize it, but there is a silent, almost invisible behavior that dominates a large part of modern human relationships: the compulsion to explain oneself all the time. It is a habit that seems harmless, even polite. After all, justifying your choices, your emotions, your absences, or mood changes can sound like empathy, like consideration for others. But behind this constant need to justify oneself lies something much deeper and more disturbing: a poorly healed psychological wound. Carl Jung, one of the greatest names in analytical psychology, identified this pattern as a clear symptom of disconnection from the self. For him, the repeated attempt to convince others about who you are, what you feel, and why you act in a certain way actually reveals a state of self-neglect. The person who constantly explains themselves is often seeking something they never received: permission to exist. This behavior often arises in environments marked by emotional invalidation. These are contexts, often familial, where the child's subjective experience is systematically disqualified. That's nonsense. You're exaggerating. There's no reason to feel that way. The internalized message is brutal. What I feel only has value if others understand, approve, or allow it. Over time, this belief transforms into an invisible prison, where the individual becomes dependent on others' understanding to affirm their own internal reality. When an adult compulsively explains themselves, they are unconsciously trying to avoid abandonment, judgment, or rejection. They believe that if others understand their reasons, perhaps they won't criticize them, won't distance themselves, won't reject them. It is a desperate attempt to control others' perception to ensure belonging and emotional security. But this constant effort comes at a very high price: one's own psychological autonomy. By focusing on external validation, the individual begins to neglect their internal authority. They no longer act because they believe in something, but because they need to justify themselves to avoid being misunderstood. They no longer feel freely, but rationalize their emotions to avoid the discomfort of being viewed negatively. Gradually, they stop living for themselves and start acting for others, in an eternal theater where the audience has more power than the protagonist.